Hello children, welcome back to this session on the chapter Improvement in Food Resources. Now we have already learned about the production techniques and about various methods to increase the yield of crop production. But after the production of crops, what measures have to be taken to protect them from the weeds or from the insects or from the diseases? About all that we will be studying in this session, and we will be studying about another complementary occupation along with agriculture, that is animal husbandry. You know that in animal husbandry, with the cattle farming, fish pisciculture or fish farming, and also bee culture is also included. So we will be learning about these three topics also in this session. So let us watch the modules and learn more about these important concepts of agriculture and animal husbandry. Thank you. So children, our next agricultural technique is crop protection management. See, we have selected a good variety of crop. We have learned how to produce crops yielding high yields. Now we should know how to protect them also, because the crops that are there in the field, they can be damaged by three different enemies. What are the three enemies of the crops? They may be damaged because of the weeds. You know what are weeds? Weeds are some unwanted plants that can grow along with the crops during that period, and they take away the nutrients from the soil, and they are not providing proper space for the crops. So they are harmful for the crop. They have to be cut out. So weeds are one enemy of the crop. Second enemy is the insect pest. And third one are the diseases or the pathogens that can attack any crop. So if the pests or if these enemies are not controlled at the proper time, then a lot of damage can occur in the crops. So let us learn first about the weeds. Weeds, as I told you, they are unwanted plants that grow in the field. Example, xanthium, parthenium, etc. They compete with the main crop for space and sunlight and nutrients, and as a result, the yield of the crop is also reduced. So the weeds should be cultivated in the early stages of crop growth, otherwise the harvest will be spoiled. What are the types of weeds? Infestation of weeds or attack by the weeds is more during the Kharif crop or in the Kharif season than in the Rabi season. Weeds are of two types. They are narrow leaf weeds or the broad leaf weeds. Anyway, that much detail we don't have to go for in this chapter. So let us learn about the methods of weed control. Now, how can you control the weeds? For controlling weeds, three important methods are there, children. First one is a mechanical method. That means with your hand, that means with a kurpi or with any other sickle, the farmers can just uproot or cut the weeds and without any damage, or they can burn them, or while plowing itself, the weeds can come out. They can be damaged like that. That is a mechanical method. The chemical method is by using certain weedicides. You know, there are two types of weedicides in our country, like weedicide 2 is one weedicide, and 4D, like that some weedicides are there. These are called weedicides or herbicides, and they are sprayed on the weeds to damage them. Next method is a biological control. Biologically, we can control them. How? By growing certain organisms that will eat those weeds, especially those big grasshoppers called locusts are introduced in the field. They will just walk around the field and they will eat away the weeds. Similarly, aquatic weeds can be controlled by growing the fish called the grass carp. So these are the biological methods of controlling weeds. As I told you, instead of using chemical methods, if we use the mechanical methods and biological methods, they are more eco-friendly. They won't create any harm to the environment. So what are the methods of weed control? Mechanical method, chemical method, and biological method. Now we go over to the next enemy number 2 of the plants or of the crops. They are the insects or the pests. How can they damage the crop? Children, they can damage the crops in 3 ways. You know, they can just cut the root, stem, or the leaf parts, or they can suck the cell sap, or they can bore. Bore means make a hole in the stem or the fruit, and they can damage that plant part. So 3 ways they can attack the crop. Either they can cut the root or leaf or the stem. I mean the insects. They can cut the root or leaf or the stem. They can suck. They can suck all the liquid content, that is called the sap, that is there in the plant, they can suck it out with their mouth parts. Or third, they can bore. Bore means they can make small holes in the stem or in the roots or the fruits of the plant, and they can damage them. And as a result, the crop yield can be damaged. Moreover, diseases in plants are caused, and now we go over to diseases. Diseases are, as you know, as we get diseases, like the plants also get their diseases from certain pathogens like virus, bacteria, fungus, etc., that can reduce the yield. You have learned little bit on these plant diseases in 8th standard also. Just you can remember the names. That's not that much important for your curriculum. But rice can be attacked by a disease called blast. Wheat is attacked by a disease called rust. Chickpea has got wilt. Pigeon pea has got stem rot. Mustard is attacked by a disease called the white rust. So these are the commonly found enemies of the standing crop. That means they are the weeds, or they can be the diseases, or they can be the insect pests. Now we go over to our next important topic, that is the storage of grain. So you have learned, children, you have seen that in the beginning of the chapter, we learned about crop variety improvement. There we learned how to take good variety according to their qualities and all. We are selecting the variety. Second step, we learned how to produce them. That means crop production techniques we learned. Third, we learned about the crop protection management, means how to protect them. But is that protection only from them? No. We have to protect the crops from excessive temperature, from rodents. Rodents means big rats are there. Fungus can attack them. Bacteria can attack them. More moisture can attack them. Temperature, also suitable temperature is not there, means the crops can be damaged. You have learned about storage in 8th standard also. So storage of grain is also very important. Otherwise, agricultural losses can be very high. The factors for the losses are biotic factors and abiotic factors. The biotic factors are insects, rodents, fungus, etc., and bacteria, etc. And abiotic factors are moisture and temperature. So you have to store them in proper places by ensuring that all these damaging factors are not there. They are stored in storehouse or granaries or silos. You have learned about silos in 8th standard. Otherwise, these all harmful factors can cause degradation in their quality. Their color will go away. Their loss in weight will take place, lead to poor marketability, and they are not at all fit to be sold in the market. So preventive and control measures are used before storing them. They include strict cleaning of the produce before storage, proper drying them either in the sun or the shade, or you can also use chemicals that can kill the pests. Okay, so sun drying or in the drying in the shade, or by using certain chemicals, you can kill the pests. So storage of grains is also a very important technique in agricultural production. Okay, so with that we come to the end of agriculture, and we will continue with animal husbandry next. So with that, we come to the end of agriculture. Now we go to animal husbandry. What do you mean by animal husbandry? Animal husbandry means looking after the animals. But how? Scientifically, the process also has to be done. It is a scientific management of animals, including their feeding, breeding, and disease control. You have to know what type of food you have to give them. You have to protect them from the diseases. And you have to help them in the breeding methods also. So what are the animal farming including? They include the cattle, sheep, goat, poultry, fish farming, beekeeping, etc. are included in animal husbandry. Let us learn something about the cattle farming. You know that cattle means cows and buffaloes. They are kept for two main purposes. First help that they can give us is they are giving us their milk. That is for milk production. Second one is a farm labor. So milk producing females are called the milch animals, and those that are used for farm labor are called the draught animals. Draught, D-R-A-U-G-H-T, draught animals. Milk production depends on the duration of the lactation period. What do you mean by lactation period? Lactation period means the period during which the cow can produce milk after the birth of her calf. So that period is called lactation period, and based on the lactation period only, the amount of milk is also decided. Milk production can be increased by increasing the lactation period. You know, they are given some hormonal injections and all. Two breeds of foreign cows are there. Foreign breeds are Jersey and Brown Swiss. Why are they selected? Because for they have got longer lactation period. That means they give milk for a longer period of time. And some Indian breeds, local breeds means Indian breeds are there, like Red Sindhi and Sahiwal. They are resistant to diseases. And sometimes they are crossbred. I taught you about hybridization when I started the chapter. So here also hybridization or crossbreeding is done among this Indian breed and foreign breed to get the animals with both the good qualities. Okay. So question can be asked, children. Name the foreign breeds. They are Jersey and Brown Swiss. And which are the Indian breeds? Red Sindhi and Sahiwal. So cattle shelter should also be clean and well ventilated. Otherwise, their health will suffer. And their floorings and all should be sloping. Their floor should be sloping. You can understand the reason, so that the urine and water content and all can easily flow away. And it is easier for cleaning also. So they should be clean, well ventilated, sloping floor. And cattle feed should include roughage. You know, their food is very important. Include roughage should be there. Roughage means fibrous content should also be there, and some concentrates like proteins and other nutrients also should be there. Two types of foods are required for them. One is roughage. Roughage means mainly fiber content is there in them more, and concentrate that is containing proteins and other nutrients. Cattle also can be attacked by various diseases like parasites, bacteria, viruses, etc. Some skin diseases they might get. Some worms can get into their intestines and stomach, and they can damage the liver. So some vaccinations are given to them to prevent their viral and bacterial diseases. Now we go over to poultry farming. Poultry farming, you all are familiar with that, for egg production and for the chicken meat, chicken meat. Improved poultry breeds are also developed to produce layers. There are two types of poultry. One is a layer and the one is a broiler. The layers are kept for their eggs and the broilers are kept for their meat. But crossbreeding is again taking place between the Indian variety. Indian varieties are Asil and foreign varieties are Leghorn. So crossbreeding or hybridization is taking place between these two varieties to develop new variety. For good production of poultry birds, they are given proper nutrition, proper good hygienic condition should be there, proper temperature should be there. Now, broiler chickens are usually more fatter, you know, then only people will buy them for their meat. So they are fed with vitamins, proteins, and fat-rich food. So that they can become more and more fat. Poultry fowls are also affected by diseases like viruses, bacteria, fungi, etc. So they also can be protected by proper sanitation, by providing disinfectants, and from vaccinations. Now we go to fish culture or pisciculture or fish production. What do you mean by fish production? Fish, you know, is a very important source of our foods because they are a very rich source of proteins. Now, fishes can be obtained in two ways. That is, from the natural resources. Natural sources, they can be captured. That is called capture fishery. Or by fish farming. That is called culture fishery. So two types of techniques are there in fish production. Either capture fishery, that means you are catching the fishes from the rivers or lakes or sea, etc. And other one is you are growing the fishes in a farm. Fish farm, we say, that is called culture fishery. The water sources of the fish can be marine, that is sea water, or fresh water like rivers, ponds, etc. Now we go over to marine fishery. The popular marine fishes, that means sea fishes, are pomfret, mackerel, tuna, sardines, etc. How are they caught? They are caught by using fishing nets, by using boats, in the boats. Now, how do the people know that there are fishes in one particular area of a river or sea? By the help of satellites, they know. Echo sounders, you have learned in physics about creating echo sounders, and satellites and all are there that will help them to catch the fishes. Some marine fishes are also found in sea water like prawns, mullets, pearl spots, mussels, oysters, etc. They are very important for their commercial value because from oysters and all we get pearls. You know, pearls are very costly. So that is a commercial importance of this marine fishery. Then what is inland fishery? When the culture fishery is done in the backwater, backwater in the lagoon areas and all, because in those backwaters and lagoon areas, you have got a mixture of fresh water and brackish water. Brackish water means salt water, saline water. So both the fresh water and the sea water get mixed together in the lagoons or in the backwaters, etc. That forms an inland fishery. And there is a name is also given to that is called the composite fish culture. Let me explain the composite fish culture. Composite fish culture means growing 2 or more varieties of fishes in the same pond. Different fishes, they like to stay at different levels of the water. Some like to stay in the surface, some like to occupy the middle part of the water body, or some like to lie down at the bottom part of the water body. So according to their habitats, they are grown artificially in a farm or in a water body or in any other field, so that all the living conditions are given to them and they grow there. And there is no competition for their food also there, because whatever foods these fishes want, they will get it from their level only. The major examples of the composite fish culture are rohu, katla, mrigal, grass carp, silver carp, common carp. All these names of the fishes that I gave you just now, they all occupy different levels of the water body. Whatever food is available there, they are happy with the food that they get there. So there is no competition, no fight, and they survive there and they grow well there. But only disadvantage of this composite fish culture is that the fish eggs are all deposited at that seabed or riverbed. So it becomes a bit confusing for the farmers to identify the fishes and to separate them. That is why nowadays artificially hormonal injections and all are being given, so that the breeding time of the fishes can be different, and so they can take the fishes. That's all about composite fish culture. Now we come to the last topic of our chapter, that is beekeeping or apiculture. You know that beekeeping is also a commercial occupation for the farmer, because he does not have to invest any big amount of money. No fertilizers required, no manures are required. At the same time, he's getting honey from that. He gets wax. Honey is, is a source of food also. It is used in for generating energy. It has got medicinal uses like Ayurveda medicines and all require honey. And wax is also used in medical preparations for making polishes, etc. The local varieties of bees are also there. They are the Indian bee, rock bee, little bee, etc. An Italian variety of bee is also being used for the large-scale production of bee. The scientific names of the bees are also given in the textbook. Make a note of the scientific names also. What do the bees do? The bees collect the nectar from the flowers, and this is converted into honey in the beehive. Bees are artificially grown in the homes called apiaries. Bee farm is called apiary. And the honey that is extracted by machines are called honey extractors. So in this way, the beekeeping is also a profitable occupation for a farmer. So children, you have noticed that both agriculture and animal husbandry are complementary occupations. And in this way, we have come to the end of the main topics of the chapter. Okay, thank you.